I'm coming clean with a mea culpa here. It's possible that I didn't clean the fountain pen as thoroughly as I should have, because the resulting color isn't the usual muted green leaning teal I've learned to expect from Colorverse's Minhwa Chung Cho. That's right, this isn't my first time with this ink. Check the description for a link to that previous demonstration. Or just keep watching this one, because near the end you'll get to see a swatch straight from the bottle, showing the true untainted color of this ink. Hi, I'm Irene. This is Inkworks, and I make mistakes. Like that time I mixed Pine Sol with Clorox. The resulting fumes had me stumbling from the kitchen while gasping, "I didn't do it." My excuse is I was only 19 and hadn't yet heard about adulting. But I'm equally as quick to point out others' errors, so don't think you're safe from me. Which is ironic, considering I recently took issue with a sign at an auto garage. It said, "Is your car road ready?" Except some of the letters were mixed up. Dudes, is your sign read ready? Maybe don't nag people if you can't even... Oh, yeah. So by ironic, I actually meant hypocritical. Now that that's out of the way, today's featured fountain pen is the Pilot Kakuno with a medium nib and a clear body. The ink is from Colorverse's Minhwa series. It's called Chung Cho. As always in this Ink Doodle playlist, the notebook is a Midori MD in the A6 size. By the way, I've heard Minhwa pronounced other ways, Minhwa, Minha, and so on. But I'm sticking with Minhwa, since I don't know which is the proper pronunciation. I'd spent way too much time writing about my experience with a cucumber face mask of all things, but I'm not going to include it. Because I'm 99% positive nobody cares about somebody else's cucumber face mask. It reminded me of the time on HGTV's show House Hunters, where the woman berated her husband, saying, "Nobody cares about your stove." Yeah, I have mentioned it before, but for context's sake, I'll explain. The wife had like a dozen items on her wish list, and the husband had just one, a gas stove. That was it. That was all he wanted. But of course, it was the one thing glaringly lacking in the first houses they toured. So it was like, sorry, honey, nobody cares. Both sad and funny, that moment has stuck with me all these years. So all I'll say is my face is no longer rough enough to file my nails on. And that's thanks to my BFF, who hands me bunches of those individual sheet pouches that soothe and refresh your face on holidays and birthdays. I choose to believe she isn't hinting that the state of my face needs intervention. Then I considered talking about the lunch I enjoyed the other day. The thing is, I don't know anything about the owners, and it would really bum me out if someone posted, "Oh, didn't you know? Those guys are members of the Puppy Kickers Association of Western Washington," in the comments. Oh, what the heck. I'll take a chance. I was treated to lunch the other day at a place called Top Gun Bar and Grill. It was my first time there. I don't normally hang in taverns, but the day I pass up a free meal is the day my ashes are flushed down the toilet. Okay, that got dark. The point is, my flight burger and side salad were very good. Better, actually, than I'd expect from a bar. I also got to sample my brother's plate of yummy beef tachos. But the best part was the view from the covered patio, because it's located next to a small airfield. So I got to see some aircraft against the backdrop of Mount Rainier. Yeah, it was warm and sunny. Probably the nicest day we've had this spring so far. Now, I kind of feel like I should finally watch the movie Top Gun. That's right, I've never seen it. Whether it's an example of the best or the worst of the 1980s doesn't even matter. I just need to know if the characters Maverick and Goose are as multi-layered as their burger counterpart menu descriptions. Speaking of spring, I decided to go with a floral subject for this doodle. Yes, again, you might recall a flower painting just a few weeks ago. Well, apparently we can't get enough buds a-blooming around here, because the video following this one will also be flora-related. You might call it laziness or lack of imagination. I call it picking a theme and running with it. Just forget all those times you heard me say, I am not a floral artist. The other night, I watched a YouTuber's reaction video to the Talking Heads' Life During Wartime. You know, the live performance from the Stop Making Sense concert. It's not the first one I've seen. What can I say? I love when people get discombobulated by David Byrne's dance moves. Ray Actions was cool about it, though, and even stood up to follow along. Many years ago, my mother and I watched Stop Making Sense together on VHS. It's one of my most cherished memories of her because, one, with a 42-year age difference between us, I never expected to connect over a concert, and two, she laughed so hard over the big suit bit during Girlfriend is Better. Look, my mother was not a carefree person. Too much hardship and heartache in her life. But she nearly busted a gut over that stuff. Yes, I've shared that recollection before, but I reserve the right to reuse material. Since I'm reminiscing, can I tell you all how much I relate to the movie Grosse Point Blank? Maybe not the killer for hire thing, but the main character was class of 86. I also was class of 86. Okay, so mainly I dug the soundtrack, and I like to imagine having lived my life as a professional assassin. As my soon-to-be-released book, Irene the Killing Machine explains. That's right, the statute of limitations has passed, so good luck locking me up now, suckers. There is a statute of limitations for murder, right? No. All kidding aside, Minnie Driver's character had what I long ago considered the dream job, playing and saying whatever the heck she wanted to at a radio station. Seriously, though, I did not understand her workplace. Did she own it? Was she a volunteer? How else do you get to use the airwaves to work through your personal grievances? I really do like Grosse Point Blank. It's funny and clever. Plus, what other film has such a satisfying convenience store explosion? Not that I hate convenience stores, mind. Not on principle, anyway. Look, I've had the usual unpleasant experiences at those places, just like everybody, I'm sure. But the one that still smarts is when I took my 65-year-old brother Al to get a beverage. He filled a cup at the fountain and accidentally spilled it on the counter and floor. He jokingly said, "You can't take me anywhere anymore." But he wasn't smiling. This was right after a medical appointment. Basically, Al was dying. But for months before the end, I accompanied him to doctor's appointments, emergency room visits, both radiation and chemo treatments, an operation, and post-op care at home. It was a really difficult time. So when the cashier, stony-eyed and with venom in her voice, said, "Thanks a lot," well, no, I didn't fantasize about blowing up the place, but I haven't gone back to that location in 8 years. What with springtime and insects infiltrating our home, I started thinking, why aren't there more horror movies about butterflies? I'm not talking about, ooh, the killer is obsessed with butterfly stuff. No. I mean like monstrous butterflies that attack and possibly eat people, toddlers, and pets. Bees and spiders are the frequent faces of nature gone wild scenarios. I still won't watch Stung a second time. That one involved mutated wasps. Admittedly, I was entertained, but the ick factor was way too high. See, that's why I want a killer butterflies story, because it would surprise everyone. What's less threatening than a pretty little butterfly, right? That is, until they get huge and bitey. I think I'm on to something. In fact, I predict that this time next year, the biggest hit will be Attack of the Butterflies, a sort of Eight-Legged Freaks meets Sharknado, as either a one-off film or a 6-part streaming series. Hear that, Hollywood? I've got ideas. There was a time when I had no clue how to use an A6 notebook. I was given several different ones and thought, sure, these are adorable, but what do I do with them? Turns out they're great for how I like to doodle. They're compact and fountain pen friendly. Did I already mention this is Midori MD? Actually, last year I made a video detailing how I'm using my A6 notebooks. So if you're looking for suggestions, check that one out. A link is in the description. Having used this ink before, I figured adding some wash work with a watercolor brush would better show off its color. It wasn't until then that I realized something was wrong. Because while Chung Cho is a greenish teal, the washes here were more muddy gray. It was a bummer, since I'd spent a long time rinsing out the pen before this session. But as I said earlier, you will see the proper color before the end. One good thing about having this YouTube channel, I've gotten used to talking. Even talking too much. Nowadays, I have to stop myself from oversharing on social media sites. Like the other day, when one of the botanical accounts I follow posted a lovely picture of a fiddlehead fern. I was halfway through typing a reply, saying it reminded me of how my mother would pick fiddleheads off the roadside, bring them home, dry them on newspaper pages, then boil and eat them with rice. The resultant aroma was so pungent, we had to leave the windows open for hours afterward. Apparently, ferns must be carefully prepared to neutralize their toxins. So, just like with any type of foraging, don't go gathering willy-nilly before researching first. But I stopped myself before hitting the post button, because that's a lot to lay on a stranger who was simply sharing a photograph. I'm happy to share this doodle session with you. You got to see and hear some stuff, while I got to indulge in some more self-therapy. You'd think that after 300 plus videos, I should be the most well-adjusted person around. Yet, here we are. Until next time, remember to clean out your fountain pens really, really well. And stay artsy, my friends.